The Kaufman Group is actually a family of 13 different insurance-related organizations. Each of the companies are a different segment of the insurance distribution channel. They support different pieces of how a product is moved from a carrier, how it's financed, how it's underwritten, and then ultimately delivered to the client. So all is focused on the E&S specialty markets. However, each of our companies does something a little bit different. Over the past 30 years, we've grown from just a single location to 13 different companies with more than 60 locations in 3 different countries. So today we're operating primarily in the United States, but we also do business in Canada and the UK. So from a technology perspective, that creates a lot of unique opportunities. Not only do we need to find ways to provide high quality performance for each of those locations, but we have a wide variety and vast amount of data and content that we need to secure both while in transit and from a backup perspective. The insurance industry is actually a fairly well-regulated industry, as you can imagine. From an insurance perspective, not only do we have general guidelines that we have to look at, just to maintain basic, security, compliance with user expectations, but each state, within the United States, and then each country, either Canada or the UK, they themselves have various regulations, which we have to follow. Beyond that, each of our partners who we do business with, they're looking at their own risk and their own exposure. So from a liability or a compliance perspective, we're constantly being audited. We need to make sure that content is well protected, it's securely handled, and that we're not creating any additional liability or risk opportunities. From a state-to-state perspective, we do see continuing expansion of from a compliance or regulation perspective. Recently, the state of New York, or in March of 2017, they enacted a new data security set of regulations that dictate how we have to handle information for anyone who does business in or with the state or within the state of New York. So dealing with those types of requirements puts a lot of pressure on us from an organization. And because we do interact and operate on such a broad scale, we look at those regulations as being the least common denominator, if you will, of the minimum set of expectations that we have to put in place across the entire group. The Kaufman Financial Group, because we have such a broad variety of offerings that we have within the insurance space, it means we have a complex need within the infrastructure and compute side of the house. So overly complex technologies that we need to bring it all together. Since we have a relatively small team, we were looking for a trusted partner in this space, someone that was local, that we could meet with face-to-face, but they themselves had depth of expertise. UltraLevel happened to be that partner who came to the forefront when we were out on that search. We've been working with them now for over 10 years. They bring to the table not only a depth of product knowledge and keep us aware and abreast of new technologies and hardwares that are coming to bear or could be impactful for our organization. They also offer incredible breadth of services. More importantly, I look to them as an extension of my team for how do we partner with that group, find their expertise, and use that to help train my internal staff or expose us to new opportunities within the marketplace. So we can continue to improve our service offerings and reduce our total cost of ownership from an infrastructure support perspective. Because we operate in so many different locations across the US and Canada, we elected to go with a fully virtualized desktop environment. Looking at a full VDI implementation and virtualized data center created a lot of nuances and unique challenges for us from an organizational perspective. It was the UltraLevel partnership that actually helped to expose or architect what a solution might be when we're looking at backup solutions. Our team internally, we certainly didn't have, we don't maintain necessarily the same level of expertise in each product or solution, and that was something that we went to UltraLevel to look for. With the changing infrastructure landscape that we're all faced with, it's my job to identify where opportunities are for the organization, both in the short and the long term. And that need exists not just in my day-to-day operations, but in long-term strategic planning. So we all know that cloud is becoming, the buzzword, if you will, or the area that most organizations are looking at. So like most companies, we instantly went to a number of the large public providers. We tried to identify, is there an opportunity here? Many of us tinker with some of those solutions and on a small scale in our personal lives, or even at a business level, we have some small offerings in some of those public cloud spaces. But we hadn't really evaluated that or looked to see, is there something that can fit us on a larger scale enterprise level? So as we were getting ready to deploy disaster recovery as a service, we did first go to those solutions and we looked to see, is this something that is scalable to what we need? We certainly had concerns about either vendor lock-in, pricing scalability, or even long-term viability of that as a solution for us, just not knowing where we ourselves are going to be at in 5 years. We looked at the CloudSAFE solution. That allowed us to architect in an environment any way that we wanted. They could align with our primary data center and create a backup solution that gave us the flexibility that we needed and gave us the comfort, that we knew that we would not only be able to reach out and contact the people who were directly maintaining the environment and helping to architect the next generation, for their organization, but they could come to our site and they could visit with us and help to build with my team directly the solution that was needed. So it wasn't just the solution from a hardware or hosting perspective. It was the partnership, it was the people, and it was the ability for them to relate to exactly what we needed and make us comfortable that we weren't just another client, but we were actually a valued partner of theirs, equally as much as they're a partner of ours. From a financial services perspective and being a service-based organization, our ability to generate revenue and bring value to the marketplace is based on time and the amount of time it takes us to service something or to respond to a request. From that perspective, we're also very fully digitized and digital environment. No longer do we have the physical paper or physical assets that we can rely on to conduct our business. So it's extremely important that when we look at an RTO, RPO, that it's something that fits into our business model. Prior to moving to CloudSAFE and our DR as a service offering, we had looked at what we had in place from a backup perspective, and unfortunately the amount of time that it would take to fully return to operations if we had a failure in our primary data center, it wasn't a matter of hours, it was more a matter of days. And when we sat down and looked at our lost opportunity, from an opportunity cost perspective, our per hour rate was fairly significant. So when we looked at a comparative offering with CloudSAFE, we were very quickly able to build the necessary ROI calculation that said this makes sense. I'm very pleased to say that over the summer, when we actually ran our first disaster recovery drill, we were able to validate that return to operations, and we were extremely pleased, cutting the amount of time from that initial return to operations down from days to just a matter of hours. One of the areas that is most important for us when we look at our backup and disaster recovery solutions is the security that's in place. Whether it's in a public offering or it's in a hybrid or it's on-prem, we have expectations that we're expected to meet and minimum criteria when it comes to how do we handle data, whether it's in flight, at rest, while it's being restored. or even in our production environments. Our partners that we work with expect that we're going to take all necessary means and measures to protect that content and handle it with utmost care. So as we were looking at partners, CloudSAFE, certainly impressed us from their ability to provide a FIPS 140-2 level 2 to just how we could actually go in and work with them on developing a solution that specifically met our needs. Security is something that I think everyone should be addressing, and having that level of comfort that we do with the CloudSAFE team has just removed one less thing that keeps us awake at night.